Yeah, let's talk about, one of the first things we do is, once we get the strategic plan, we have a study, and we communicate it as a preliminary case for support. And what the spirit is we go out and communicate that this is a preliminary case for support that communicates the best direction for the organization from the leadership. It's preliminary. It is not a cram down. This is a preliminary case for a proposed campaign. Note the language of caveat. G prospective donor, what do you think about this preliminary case for a proposed campaign? And you measure, their response to it, and they'll tell you what's hot and what not about your preliminary case.
In addition to just the case and the campaign, we're in front of these people and it's confidential, and we get to find out too. We ask them about the organization, about the leadership, about the communications that they receive, how they feel about that. And a lot of times that's where we can capture a lot of phone calls. So we can, even though it's confidential, there's things that we can, relate that's not an issue. But it encompasses a lot of things. It kind of goes from general to specifics. We're asking about the organization, the leadership, and then we get to now, this is what they're looking at, and then we specifically ask about the projects that they're considering. Yeah, that's one of our questions.
Yeah.
If they move forward in a campaign,
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if they move forward in a campaign, would you consider a gift or a pledge over 3 years, 5 years? If they say yes, we would follow it up and say, where do you feel that your potential gift may lie? And what range do you feel like it may fall in if it's payable over 3 to 5 years? So we do ask that. That's one of the major ways we, along with a few other things, how we determine a goal.
And don't you usually go like 75 to 100 people?
Well, it depends on how big or
Yeah. If you're in a small church setting, it could be 30. If you're in a statewide organization, it could be 60. Something like that. It just depends. Also, it depends on your budget. Because if you want us to, take a lot of time and travel a lot of, miles, that's more expensive. But we conduct in person, face to face. Some people that we can't get in front of, we'll do a phone interview. We also send out a mail questionnaire, which is the same questions, only fewer of them.
And it has a link to an online survey. So if you're
So it's really
kind of wants to fill it out and send it in, or if you're the kind that wants to go on the link.
Do you have good results on the online surveys?
It's kind of where it's getting better. I know a university we just worked with, we got back about 500 and something. That we sent out.
Online surveys?
Yeah.
Out of 1,000?
No, I think it was out of, I think that one was out of, it might have been 2,500 or something.
Yeah.
Which
typically you
oh,
get
it was, I thought it was good.
in between 10 to 20% return rate on a mail questionnaire. Human services would be more down to 10. Schools, alma maters, you're going to get more. Churches even more. You can get up to 30% response rate.
And I think we're getting more response because they can go online.
It's easier.
I think a lot of people
no fuss,
are.
no fuss.
Now they skip a lot of questions sometimes because that's kind of frustrating. But we do have that option, no answer, because you don't want to.
Yeah.
And the actual report's not going to have, like for our reports, for example, we have 80% of people said excellent, very good, whatever, and then we'll also have all the comments, but no names beside who said what. And we'll look at the comments. So if there's something a little hurtful or something that's maybe too identifiable, then we'll change it up. But we'll talk to the we saw this pattern.
Now let me kind of go back to nomenclature, because this is where it's important. In my line of thinking, you may or may not count legacy gifts. You may or may not count identified expectancies, because you may say, I'm leaving you $500,000 in my will, and you may not count that towards your gifts and pledges to your campaign. But I would consider a planned gift, a gift of appreciated stock as a planned gift, okay? because that is a tax-wise way of giving that involves three people: the organization, the donor, and the broker. So I do count plan gifts, even as I may not count legacy gifts and the expectancies that we identify. But you probably would count realized expectancies. Let's say somebody says, I'll leave you $500,000, and within the next 5 years they die and the $500,000 becomes actualized. I would count that as a gift to the campaign if it were so restricted. Yeah, but there are some legitimate accounting ways, accounting approved, to to account for these plan gift expenditures.
Well, we use case standards.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if some of the other groups here would use that necessarily.
There are different kind of standards out there.
Right.
And, we have a grid, that can kind of show you the pluses and minuses. I tend to be more liberal, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm kind of partial to the development officers I'm working with. And I like to, if there's an identified expectancy that comes during a campaign as a result of the professionalism of the major gift officer, even though it's an expectancy and I can't count it as a gift and pledge, I can count it as an expectancy and weigh it such that that major gift officer gets some credit for mining it and bringing it in. And even though it may not be realized on his or her watch, I don't want to give all the credit, in some ways undue credit, for people who just happened to be on site when the person died and had nothing to do with it. But let me, and I know that there's a bit of self-interest in saying this, but let me tell you, we have conducted campaigns having the benefit of the insights of the feasibility study, and we've gone into campaigns not having the benefit, and it is night and day. The difference between going in a campaign where you've done the spade work versus going into a campaign and you're going in blind. So it really is important. And the sophisticated donors, they know that professional operators, this is one of the best practices. Most of the people that we interview in feasibility studies, they have been around this block before. They know our role. They know why we're coming in there. They know we're teeing them up. But they also know their role in being a part of the picture of the capital campaign. They know that they have a say.
Even people that have not been through a feasibility study before that I've interviewed, they're not really sure, and they accept the meeting, and when I meet with them, by the time I leave, they're like, oh, this is great, I was able to tell, because I think they were afraid we were going to come in and really focus on the money, which, I guess if you've never been through one, you can kind of think, well, I know they're going to come and try to figure out what I'm going to give, but it's more, we're going through the front door asking for your advice and counsel, not coming in and asking for money, because if we ask for money, they're going to give us advice and counsel. But we need to ask for that advice and counsel, let them share, give us their thoughts, their opinions. Sometimes it's ridiculous. Sometimes it's things that are completely not true. People talk, and that's their perception. But you need to know what their perception is. You need to know what's going out what people think, because maybe there's just a communication issue. So everything that people tell us, sometimes in my head I'm thinking that's not how it is, but I don't, I just soak it in, take note. One thing I'll say too, even though these are questions, we got this. We don't read the question, it's a conversation. I know what I need to cover, so during the conversation, it can skip around. People will think of something, and I'll say, what do you think about it, So I capture everything I need to capture, but it's a conversation and it's comfortable. It's not a, very strict, I'm going to write down your answer.
She's smoother than I am. People kind of know we're going down the list.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, mostly they do, but they usually know when I'm getting from specific, from general to specific. The closer I get to the specifics, they're expecting.
Yeah.
But they do give me all their advice first. It makes them feel better about giving me their potential gift amount. So
they're going to hit, some people may end up disclosing their salary or a percentage of their salary based on what they want to give. So
another thing,
confidential.
Talking about that too. I like going to their homes or their office. sometimes we'll have, I know, but sometimes we'll have it where, you know, they come into the office at the organization, that's okay too. But I learn so much about people when I'm sitting in their home or sitting in their office, whether it's what their interests are, pictures, whatever, or if it's, you know, how big and massive their home is and how many beautiful cars are out in the driveway. So there's a lot you can learn.
I'm looking for the Monets on the wall. That's a sign.
No, I think it's important not to bring your barriers. in.
Yeah, no, you don't want to be behind a desk. That's the reason I don't sit and write like this.
Yeah,
If I can't read it later, I'll remember.
that's where your photogenic mind has to
Yeah.
take you.
Yeah, that's why between every interview, I'm cleaning up my sheet, making sure I can read it later. And that's another reason I don't use a laptop, you know, everything's getting, but I go, write it and we get it all typed up, so.
I would think a laptop would be impersonal,
That's why I don't use it.
Yeah.
but some people use them, I'm sure.
Yeah, they do, but, but again, I'm the high-touch person.
Me too.
Yeah.
Less high-tech.
I love all
Yeah.
Reach out.
Okay, now, going into a feasibility study, typically, we're testing something that emerged from the strategic plan. And we're typically testing a little high. Let's just say we think maybe you can raise 5 million, but we may test for 10 just to see if somebody reaches, So I always want to test a little high. And it may be that we test for 4 different components, something for programs, something for athletics, something for arts, something for endowments, because, different people have different interests. And we let our donors prioritize, so we're able to see at the end of the study, what's hot and what's not. And it may be that we test for 10 for ABCD components, and we recommend a campaign for 6.5 for ABC components. And we have to defer some things until the next campaign. What is your best arrow in your quiver?
You're a leader, the campaign chair.
Well, leadership. Now that's that's really a good one too. It's the range of gift chart.
Oh,
Okay, don't leave home without it. Okay, let's look at it. And I'm going to use easy numbers. Let's say your goal is, let's see, it's kind of on page 36, 37, 36 and 37. I'm only going to do one. Your goal, we tested for 2 million, we're coming back with a $1 million goal. So, this is the way that you construct a range gift chart. Now, I know you can Google gift chart and plug in $1 million and come out with a gift chart on Google, but that's cheap. I don't like the way. You need to know what goes into this thing.
Don't be a weenie.
Don't be a cheat. Typically, you're going to start with one gift at 10%. And then you multiply the quantities by 2, and you divide the amounts by half. That's kind of the basic formula. That is basic formula, okay? And we're going to massage it kind of based on the numbers that we saw coming through the feasibility study. That this is kind of how you start it. Now it may be, and hopefully you do, you have somebody who bid for 20%. Then you put it in there. Because let's say somebody bid and we identified it during the study, and if they don't see it in the gift chart, they're not going to reach for it. So you put it in there, okay? And then it's 2 at 100, 4 at 50, 8 at 25. Now, this gives you a sense of things. What is this a picture of? if you look at your range of gift chart, what is it showing you? What it shows you is that 80% of the money comes from 20% of the people. This is a snapshot of that reality. Okay. I've been to seminary, I understand sociology. I'm an Ole Miss graduate of economics, and I did go to some of those classes, you know, because I told you about the demand and supply grid. Why is giving like that? Why is giving like that? 80-20. Now, you know, you would think it's a law of nature because, you know, the iceberg is 20% above and 80% below. The reason is because we live in a capitalist engine society. And in capitalism, there are winners and there are losers. And so you will have, in this kind of dynamic engine, more of a skew that's like that. If we were more tilted, more mixed or social, it would be more of a flatter pyramid. But within, you know, where the capitalist engine is, that's why you're going to get where 80% of the money comes from 20% of the people. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I just want you to know that's why we get this shakeout. It's because this is the way the economy is shaking out. Okay? Okay. As long as we know and as long as we're clear. Okay. Now, there will be, these are the number of gifts. How many prospects? If we need one of these, either a ×3 or a ×4 factor. So if you're going to get one of these, you're going to need 4 of these, you're going to need 8 prospects, you're going to need 16 prospects at 50,000, and 32 prospects for 25. You will not bat 1,000. You're going to bat 333 or 250. And if you're not, then you need to look at why. Maybe you need to train your volunteers better. If you're batting better than that, it may be your ask amounts are too anemic. You know, it's not all good that you have better than 250 or 333 because it may be you're being a weenie and your ask amount is not up there where it should be.
I don't want to jump ahead, but how much negotiation do you think should or does go on a big ask?
Ooh. A big ask typically takes months and time. Yeah, cultivating.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're going to also be talking and suggesting some tax-wise ways of giving. They're going to be talking with their accountants who are going to, and their brokers who are going to be very reluctant to see that person want to give.
Sometimes you can ask someone who can make that size gift to consider being the chairperson of the campaign, which will
Right.
Yeah. We can be bought. People can buy my vote.
Sounded like you're from Louisiana.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I grew up on stories of Edwin Edwards.
And they're true, too.
Yeah, they're all true. Okay. But what is the use of this range of gift chart? This range of gift, one look at this range of gift chart is going to raise your prospects' sights. One look at the range of gift chart and they're thinking, ooh, you're not looking at chump change. You know, this is a major gift fundraising effort. And we're going to need gifts like this in order to gear shift and grow our organization. Okay, the other thing that we teach, besides raising sights, is we learn that the law of averages does not work because there will be somebody. So your goal is $1 million. How many people do you have? Well, if everybody just came. Law of averages does not work in American major gift fundraising. Why? Because 80% of the money comes from 20% of the people. And we need to design our strategies accordingly. Because we are not gonna, we're not gonna change that reality. We just structure our campaigns along the lines of precedent.